Hey Algebra 1, thanks for tuning in. This is going to be lesson 6.2, day 2, or part 2. We're going to be looking specifically at radicals and rational exponents and know how to go between them. Basically, your rational exponents look like anything that has kind of like a fraction, like this, and then your radicals have your square root symbol. So anything that looks like this. So basically just trying to figure out what is the difference between these two and how to go in between each one. We're looking for 8 things on our notes. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to write down is how to write rational exponents and how those go back and forth between radicals. If you have a to the first over n would be a root of a, and m would have to be a positive integer. So if you see these examples right here, I actually, in fact, just wrote this one up there on the board for you. But you basically want to be able to go from here to here and then back and vice versa. One thing I like to remember to do here, if you have 27 to the 2/3, this, just think about it as the 3 goes in the back, so where your cube root would go, and the 2 would just stay next to the 27. So the only thing you're moving is the 3. Let's go ahead and take time now to pause the video here and write down those examples just so you can see the difference between the radical versus the rational exponent, and then once you're done, click play so you can see how it's done. Alright, so the first one we're going to do is just evaluate, and when it's written like this, which is your rational exponent, you want it to go back into your radicals. So what I'm going to do is rewrite it. Remember that 4 would just go on the front end, so we had 4 and then your radical sign and then the 16 and then the cube root, and then to the 3rd power. Now we would just solve. I know that 2 times itself 4 times is 16, so that means 4 radical of 16 would be 2, and then to the 3rd power would give me 8. Okay, so that's all we're really doing here. So what I'm going to get you to try is this one on your own. So maybe go ahead and write it in the radical form using your square root or your radical symbol, and then evaluate that. So let's go ahead and pause here so you can try number 2, and then once you're done, click play. Okay, so just like before, remember this 3 is going to move to the front. So we'll have the cube root of 27 and then to the 4th power. I know that the cube root of 27 is 3, so you're essentially finding 3 to the 4th power, which should be 81. Here's some more that you're going to try. The first one's written for you in your radical form, but the rest of them are just rational exponents, so go ahead and rewrite those and then solve them. Again, let's go ahead and pause the video here for 3 through 6, and then once you're done, click play to check your answers. So number 3 is a popular one. The cube root of -125 is -5. Remember, we can have odd numbers right here equaling a negative root. You just can't have any even numbers. For number 4, excuse me, if we look at it, we're going to take this 3 and put it in the front. So the cube root of -64, and then to the 2nd power. The cube root of -64 is -4. And then -4 to the 2nd power is a positive 16. So 16 is my answer for number 4. For number 5, we're going to go ahead and again rewrite. So I have a 2, the the 2nd root of 9 to the 5th power. Again, this can maybe also be written as this, the square root of 9 to the 5th power, because anytime you multiply a number by itself is the same thing as finding the square root. Anyways, that answer is going to give you a 3. And then you're essentially just finding 3 to the 5th power, or 3 times itself, 5 times, and we should get 243 for number 5. The last one for number 6, to rewrite it, we're going to scoot that 4 to the front. So we'll have 4, and then the radical sign, and then 256, all to the 3rd power. When we find how many times, what can be multiplied by itself 4 times to get 256, that is going to give us 4, and then 4 to the 3rd power is equal to 64. Okay, the last thing we're going to try are just 2 more examples here. Again, rewrite them in your radical form to help you solve them. And so let's go ahead and pause here so you can try 7 and 8, and once you're done, click play. All right, so for number 7, we're going to write it as 5 and then the radical and then 243 all to the second power. That is going to be equal to 3, because 3 times itself 5 times will give us 243. If you didn't know that, you would just start to eliminate some possibilities using a calculator, and then you do 3 to the second power, which is equal to 9. And then number 8, I'm going to do my work down here. We're basically just finding the square root of 16. This one's an easier one. That would give us 4, and 4 to the third power is equal to 64. Okay, so what you're basically going to be doing for homework is going back and forth between radical and rational form, and then also being able to solve between radical and rational form. That's going to conclude our notes for today. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next